And welcome back. Among the proposals that swept through committee hearings this past week is a measure that allows businesses to write down net operating losses for up to 20 years. Supporters say it's exactly what small business needs during this current fiscal crisis, but critics argue that the plan could make an already faltering economy even worse. Joining me right now is Paul Tyahla, who is Vice President of Government Affairs for the Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey, and Jon Shure, who is President of New Jersey Policy Perspective. Thank you for joining us. This bill is called A3124. What's it going to do here for folks in New Jersey?
For us, it's really a matter of tax fairness and bringing New Jersey companies in competition with their peers in other states.
When you say us, you mean small business?
All businesses.
All businesses.
If you or I were to start a company, then the odds are that our business would operate at a loss in its first few years. Mm-hmm. Now, about half the states and the federal government let us carry those net operating losses forward for 20 years against future earnings. The state of New Jersey caps it at 7. So A3124 would increase the carry forward to 20 years and bring it to a standard that's held across the country.
So everybody else does it across the country, but New Jersey doesn't. What is this going to do? Why is this, you're saying this is not going to work?
Well, you know, the concept isn't a bad one. I think it would actually put New Jersey in conformance with about 18 other states. But it's like my mother might have said, don't make bad worse. This may not be the time to be doing these kinds of things. You know, we've heard talk about helping people with foreclosures. We've got to do some infrastructure work to grow the state's economy. And my concern is that the one thing we shouldn't be doing is taking revenue away. We're already going to take a hit with the income tax and the sales tax with this economy, no question about it. This is almost like, you know, coming home from work and saying, we need money, so I quit my job. You know, you just don't want to give up revenue.
But how much revenue is it going to take?
Well, that's one of the scary things about this, Harry. They don't even know. The legislature is holding hearings on some of these tax cut bills, and they don't even have estimates of how much money it will cost the state.
But wait a minute, I'm not following your logic here. Why isn't this exactly the time that we should be helping small businesses? Because a small business is the employer of a lot of people
Sure.
across the state, and if it's going to be easier for them to stay in business and turn a profit, they're going to employ more people, yes?
We can help small businesses by making sure we fight back against this economy, by making sure that people don't lose their houses, by making sure the minimum wage goes up, things like that put money in people's pockets. The stimulus package that Congress, we hope, will pass really soon after the election would help put money in people's pockets.
So you're saying there are other ways
Sure.
to do it without taking the revenue hit?
You know, John's right that this really is a national problem, but to an extent, there's an only in New Jersey aspect to this. Tax Foundation came out this week and said corporate business taxes in New Jersey are higher than any other state. And so if we're going to address the state's economy, we're kidding ourselves if we think that we can address it without taking care of that problem. We don't need to go from 50th to 1st, but 35th might be nice.
Okay. Well, actually, that study also said early in the first few pages, it says we don't measure all the other things that are important to businesses, so we can't just look at the tax thing. But I'm really concerned that this is not the right time for New Jersey to be cutting its own revenue throat when we need the money more than ever.
So we talk about small business. I don't know what comes to your mind when I say small business, but in my way of thinking, I'm thinking of like a pizza shop, I'm thinking of maybe a hair salon, maybe 1 or 2 employees, not a small business that employs 30, 40, 50 people. No. Is that true?
Well, it's all of them. I mean, 50 people is a small business. I mean, It's the backbone of the state. There's no question about that. That's where people work.
So why not help the backbone of the state?
I think we have to be careful. I think we have to make sure that we don't use this time to get bills through that in other times we couldn't do because they don't make sense. And we'll need this revenue more than ever. We have to help business. Let's find ways to do it.
Aren't we going to see a payback on this virtually right away? Yes? No?
Last year, the state added about 3,100 private sector jobs. That's 41st in the country and worse than every bordering state. We have the same number of jobs now that we did in December of 2000. So you're right, we need to create jobs. And one of the ways to do that is to let businesses keep more of the money that they earned in the first place. We continue to talk about the revenue loss to the state. Really, it's how deep into the pockets of individuals and businesses that the state reaches.
There's a lot of experts say that cutting business taxes is not how you grow the economy. It's other things like infrastructure and things we need to do. So we're basically cutting taxes without knowing how much we're going to lose, without evidence that it helps to grow the economy. The last thing that any state should be doing now is trying to compete with other states in a race to the bottom. Let's cut this and cut that. That's not the way we're going to get through this thing.
Let me just throw out a hypothetical here. If I'm a small business and say I make $10,000 in profit at the end of the year, just to use some round figures, $10,000 in profit, how much of that money do I put back in the New Jersey state economy, either through purchases or expanding my business or hiring more employees? What's the stat on that?
Well, I think you'll put most of it back into the economy, and so will your employees, and so will, you know, that's how it works. And I want to be clear, we need to help business.
So if I'm making more and I'm going to put it back anyway, why, as a small business, is this a bad?
Well, because
small
the state,
business is a good thing, but why
small
for the state
business,
is it bad?
business is a good thing, but the state needs that revenue now more than ever if we're going to help people to not have their houses foreclosed, if we're going to build infrastructure. We have to do it.
New Jersey already takes more from its citizens and from its businesses than any other state. Now, if we're going to talk about the need to reinvest and to help prevent foreclosures and things like that, why would the answer be to take more from those individuals and businesses?
Nobody's saying take more. I didn't say we should raise their taxes, and we don't take more than any other state. There's all different ways to look at that.
So, Paul, what about the legislative reaction?
The legislative reaction has been really in the right place. They held, we heard, a historic day on Monday. The governor's going to address the legislature on Thursday of this week. But the answer to this isn't through programs that they advance, such as BEEP and BRAG and things like that. They're beneficial, but the benefit to that is limited. There's no substitute for low tax and regulatory policy. If you look at states like Virginia and Florida and Texas that are growing, they don't have a lot of these programs. What they have is low taxes.
Right. Is there a prevailing attitude sometimes if you are pro-business, you are necessarily anti-citizen, anti-family, or, you know, if you're giving something to the business, you're taking it away from somebody else?
I don't know about that, but what I do think happens sometimes is that some of the business folks, and again, we'd have no state without them, but we wouldn't have it without the workers either. They sometimes think that they create the economy. We're all partners in this economy. We all have to work together in this economy, and government has a role to play.
And pitting businesses against citizens is something politicians do.
Okay, thank you both very much. We're out of time. If you have any ideas about a topic that you would like to see discussed here, please log on to my9tv.com. Click on Public Affairs. We would just love to hear from you. That's it for today's show. Thank you very much for joining us. From My9, I'm Harry Martin, and we will see you next week on New Jersey Now.